Next up, let's welcome Chip and Jonathan from Cloudstead, your own cloud.
Thank you very much, Miles. Hello, everyone. Well, thanks for coming. My name is Jonathan Cobb. This is Chip Witt. Out there in the audience, wave your hand, is EJ Bloomberg. And along with a handful of other crazy dreamers, we are Cloudstead. What is Cloudstead, you might wonder? Cloudstead is a private cloud operating system. It is your own little private chunk of the internet that will do whatever it is you want it to do. Why did we create Cloudstead? Well, imagine you're moving to a city. It's a wonderful city. You're starting a new life, but all the houses there cost mazillions and mazillions of dollars, and pretty much everyone's renting. Oh, wait, that's where we are in San Francisco right now. So the sad thing is, this is basically how we all use online services today. We rent our email from Google, our files from Dropbox, our conferencing from WebEx, and the list goes on and on and on. And why do we rent these things? Because it's usually the only option. It's crazy expensive to buy it or build it yourself. So we keep renting, and we pay the rent with cash or personal privacy or both. And we wondered, does it have to be this way? Can we move to an ownership economy from a rental economy for cloud services? And we at Cloudstead believe the answer is an emphatic yes. So we've designed Cloudstead to be super easy to use and super easy to set up. And let's see just how easy that is. We'll log into our cloudstead.io account. If you want one of these, talk to one of us or hit signup.cloudstead.io and get on our beta list. We give it a name and we hit go. That's about it. When we hit go, cloudstead.io is creating a virtual private server, putting a bunch of software on it. All of that software is open source, available on GitHub today. You can look at it and make sure it's not doing anything nefarious. And as that software comes up, it shuts out access to everyone, including us. If you really want to be crazy secure, you can take the open source version and install it onto your own hardware, and then we're not even in the loop at all. It's like building your own Linux kernel. Go for it. Now, this whole process does take about 15, 20 minutes. So for the purposes of this demo, we're going to jump over to another Cloudstead that we set up earlier today. Once the Cloudstead has finished setting itself up, it will contact you and only you with a secret key that can be used to unlock it. But it's not just the secret key. You actually need two pieces of information. So we click on the link in the email. The combination of the secret key in the email and a password that we have set up prior will allow us to unlock this Cloudstead and create our first administrator account on the instance. So Chip will go do that, and once you do that, you're logged in and you can see this is basically Google Apps without Google. So you have email, you have calendar, you have file sharing. All of this stuff looks just as good on the mobile web or on the tablet. It's a unified operating system. It's got responsive design. You can pull this stuff into native apps, your native email client, calendar client, these types of programs you might have on your phone or your desktop. And we've really looked hard at how do we create something that is unified, where this is not just a looping of a bunch of apps installed next to each other. It's an operating system. The apps can share information between one another. We have designed this thing to be open so that you will be able to, yes, I have my own private cloud storage, but I can also plug in my Dropbox and Google Drive. It's entirely possible to do such things. We also have an app store, so you can install other apps. You want WordPress on there, you want Jira for bug tracking, a wiki, whatever you might need. These services that you're used to individually paying for and individually setting up and configuring accounts, and individually setting your privacy settings. You can set all of that once. You can take a whole bunch of stuff that you're renting today and own it. We're not going to be able to get into how easy it is to package up an app and run it on Cloudstead, but suffice to say, if you've got a Ruby on Rails app, a PHP app, a Java app, open source or commercial, we've put a lot of time and effort into making this very developer friendly, so it's super easy for folks to bring their apps onto the platform. And on the integration aspects. So not only single sign-on when you install an app, you don't have to worry about user management for that app, but also cloud-wide search. Have you ever been trying to find that conversation, wondering, is that an email, is that attached to a bug issue? Search across your whole Cloudstead. I'll wrap up now as we're running short on time, but if I've done my job well today, you're curious and want to find out more. If you're a developer, go find our code on GitHub and start playing with it. Feel free to ask me any questions. And if you're interested in running your own Cloudstead, please sign up or contact one of us today. Thank you very much, and any questions?
Thank you. Okay, guys, hands up high. Hands up high. Yes.
Okay. I kind of picked up on a bit of a vibe of you don't think we should trust Google. So why should we trust you?
You shouldn't. So, that's a short answer. The longer answer is everything that we do is totally open. So if you trust Linux and Red Hat, that's kind of it. The Cloudstead open source stuff, that's Linux. Anyone can take that and run with that, and you don't need to involve us. You don't need to trust us. If you trust the code, of course, you have to trust the code. And one of the things we want to do before we launch is have a security audit and do a whole bunch of other things. So to enhance that trust, for sure. But you shouldn't. You shouldn't trust anyone, and our belief is that you shouldn't have to. Yeah.
Yeah, two questions actually. The first one is, if I wanted to start using this with my company right now, the same way I would use Google Apps, could you walk me through a little bit of how I would do that? And the second question is, if later we wanted to have our own server co-load somewhere and put this on there, do you provide services to help with that?
Great questions. So first I want to give a notion of where we are as a company and then dive into that. And if I forget your questions in the interim, you can repeat them. But we're in private beta right now. If you want to participate in our private beta, please join in. We'll be launching our 1.0, we aim, in Q1 of next year. So at that point, there will be many more services available. If you're using Google already today, we could walk you through what it would take to migrate. If you're starting fresh, it's super easy, and in fact, we're crafting this kind of startup bundle that includes, a GitLab, which is roughly equivalent to GitHub, CRM and other types of things, so you can just get started right away. But converting, and we want to go after greenfield first, because displacement is always expensive. But we do want to make it super easy to say, hey, just import all of my email from Google, and it'll pull it all in. Import all of my files.
We're closer to what you guys want for we're using a lot of different services. My main concern was, you talked a little bit about the personal use, and I was considering, what can we use across the company? Yeah.
So this is designed for really group use, I guess you could say. Our initial target, we believe, is going to be small and medium businesses, although it certainly can be used for individual, and we want to encourage that. So yeah, it ought to be easy to port. The other side of it is moving out, right? So Cloudstead.io, we as a company, we want to kind of be the Red Hat to this Linux that we've created. So our revenue model is based on, we're a giant condo complex. We've built all the plumbing, all the water, all the electric, but ultimately you have the key to your place. And we can't get in there, and no one else can get in there. But going beyond that, from a portability perspective, if you want to take that and host it in your own data center, it's super easy to float your condo unit straight out of the building and land it on the grassy plains and say, now you're responsible for more of your own infrastructure at that point. You might need to be a little more technical. You're not in this friendly condo complex, but you can totally do that. Any other questions?
So one of the things I think we've all noticed is that today a lot of companies are centered around being really good at one thing, right? There's a lot of huge companies that are doing all the pieces that you guys are doing, but it looks like you guys are you're taking all those and putting them together, and it's a good solution, but how are you going to compete with entire companies behind doing that one thing well, and you're trying to do all of these things and spreading your resources across them?
How does Linux compete with Windows?
Does it?
In some markets it does. In the server market it destroys it. Sure, in the consumer market, there's been some struggle, but no, this is, if you look at what we've built here, we are leveraging massive amounts of open source code that has already been written, that has already been proven, and we're taking it and making it better. And the fact is that open source as a form of public IP that no one owns, that's not controlled by any company, that every one of us can use, is pretty amazing. But right now, it requires a certain nerd level to use. And why is that, you know? So, you know, I want to be like the guys in the Homebrew Computer Club that say, no, you can have a computer in your house, and it can do interesting things for you. I don't know what all those interesting things are yet, but you can have your own private cloud. This stuff is commodity technology at this point. We believe the differentiation is going to be around how well integrated it is, how easy it is to use, how easy it is to develop for. But our goal is to create an ecosystem, a foundation in an ecosystem. We can't do everything. We look at this like a mobile operating system. Yeah, it comes with email, calendar, and files, but then there's an app store. And maybe you just install a different email program if you don't like ours, and that's fine. But we should be able to kind of give you, you know, most of what you need, and then develop a healthy ecosystem to build out the rest of the apps. Thank you very much, everybody.
Great.
We didn't get to ask any questions.
Thank you, Jonathan. Great job.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chip.